Hi everyone, welcome to the BioEdge.
Whether a vertebrate animal is fertilized internally or externally is one of those mysteries of sexual biology that we haven't really got to the bottom of. And in this bio bullet, we just explain a little bit about the sexual mechanics of fertilization in a giant shark because of its inherent biological interest. Now, we don't mention other vertebrates much in this bio bullet, but I'll just mention here that um, to give us a framework of reference. In some cases, vertebrates seem to go out of their way not to copulate, and the best example of this is many or most salamanders. Salamanders are an order of the class Amphibia, and salamanders are really peculiar because they go through an elaborate courtship, really as elaborate as one finds in many mammals and birds. It's a one-on-one courtship, and a great deal of energy and care is expended by the male to get cooperation from a certain female. And then at the end of it all, what the male does, instead of simply copulating with the female, which doesn't really require a penis-like structure, because after all, the birds of the world achieve internal fertilization perfectly well by a simple form of cloacal kissing. At the end of this courtship, what the male does in salamanders is extremely surprising, and that is he produces a so-called spermatophore. He essentially ejaculates his sperm content together with a huge plug of mucus substances that produces a little mound on the ground, quite a substantial mound on the ground, about the size of a baby salamander, as it were. And then he continues his courtship by encouraging the female to place her cloaca over this spermatophore, which is formed like a little peak on the ground, a little mound on the ground. And then if she's willing, and if the courtship has been successful, she will actually use her cloacal lips to grab the spermatophore off the substrate and slowly take it into her cloaca and up her reproductive tract by a sort of act of self-insemination, as it were. Now, this is extremely remarkable because most salamanders, perhaps all salamanders, have all advanced salamanders, except for the most primitive ones, have internal fertilization, and yet they do not have copulation. And this kind of self-insemination by the female seems to be an extremely long-winded way of going about the obvious task of simply inseminating a female. And so in salamanders, what we have is a remarkable unwillingness, as it were, evolutionarily, to form a penis and to use a penis. Whereas in some other groups, such as the sharks, which we focus on in this bio bullet, the opposite is true. Now, we know that most fishes have external fertilization, a bit like most frogs do, in which the female simply squirts eggs into the water, and the male tries to get as close as possible at that moment and squirt his sperm in that general vicinity in a kind of a chance-based, haphazard fertilization spasm. And that's I guess, the default way that bony fishes fertilize their eggs. But in cartilaginous fishes, such as sharks, mostly fertilization is internal. And the surprise about sharks, which we see as primitive, nasty, unemotional animals, I guess, is that they have not just copulation, but a form of copulation that's surprising in terms of the elaborateness of the phallic organ. Now, this could be said for many sharks, but because the basking shark is a well used animal in fisheries, it has been dissected and analyzed fairly thoroughly, and so we know a little bit more about the penis morphology, the phallus morphology of the basking shark than other sharks. And I guess that, without getting bogged down in the details for now, the take-home message is that the penis of a basking shark is remarkable in at least three ways that seem excessive relative to the simple expectations of inserting a phallic organ into a female. Firstly, the basking shark, like other sharks, has two penises, not just one. It uses one in any particular copulation, but it nonetheless has redundancy in the form of two penises in its body. Secondly, the penis of the basking shark is an articulated organ with its own skeleton, a complex skeleton that has moving parts. And in that sense, it's far more complex than the phallus that we associate with most mammals. And thirdly, the penis of the basking shark has not just teeth on it, but these include the largest tooth in the whole body of the basking shark. Now, we know that the basking shark is a filter foraging animal, and so its mouth teeth are actually quite small. And we also know that sharks have tiny teeth all over their skin, little denticles that are identical to teeth in terms of having an enamel coating. But what's surprising is to find that the phallus, the penis of the basking shark, is covered in these denticles, just like the rest of the skin, which makes it a sandpaper-like organ. And that one particular denticle, which has an articulating base and can be kind of flexed into a tooth-like position, is so large that it's by far the largest tooth in the whole body of the shark. And so we can view the basking shark as having a complex, skeletally articulated, sandpaper-covered penis that has the animal's largest tooth, used for the purpose of actually impaling, as it were, a tough fibrous pad within the vagina of the female shark in order to lodge the penis firmly during the process of copulation. Now, the point of all this is firstly just the biological wonder of it, but secondly, the strange puzzle of some animals, like sharks, having this extremely elaborate, seemingly excessive way of copulating, whereas other animals like salamanders, which go to great lengths to court each other, have what seems like a pointed avoidance, a deliberate and dogged avoidance of anything resembling copulation. So when we view different classes of vertebrates in this way, sexual biology seems wonderfully mysterious still, and there's so many questions to be researched and answered out there by the biologists of the world. And with that fun thought, we'll leave you now, and we look forward to seeing you next time for another Bio Bullet here at the Bio Edge, and it's bye for now.